most of the following footage and last week's video were actually shot um, and worked on before Quebble's Game Jam and the Global Game Jam. I did all of that and then posted those videos pretty quickly. And then forgot to come back and edit this stuff. So here it is.
For the options menu on the player, I did have to add uh, in the pause node for the player, which is over here, this pause node. I had to go into options, the options section, and go to all of the all the buttons that are going to be there, and come over to the inspector process and make them, yeah, I have them set to always. I did that at the pure options level, and then in the player section, it will automatically be correct because it's saved at the option, not just within an edit children section. And then within the pause node, I added the following. I added these on ready variables right here for these sliders to make sure that they worked. This stayed the same. These two functions stayed the same. But if you're not using a key press, this is something I learned while doing this. You're not using a key press and you're using a button. You just need to make sure it is set to always or when paused. And then you just write the code as you would want after you put in if getTree.pause is true. Then you set it to false, then you do the rest of what it is you want it to do. And then in the case of applying the sounds and stuff, I didn't want it to unpause. So I just wrote in the stuff that I needed it to do. And then of course the save data, load data. Yeah, so that was something I wanted to make sure that I notated now rather than forgetting to mention later. Yeah, today is Friday. It has now been a week of working on this game. And other than having someone else play it and creating more music to listen to while playing the game, or refining the art, or zhuzhing it up, I think it is finally at a good point in that I feel comfortable putting it on itch.io. Once this video comes out, I can put it up on there. Yeah. So I think I want to start working on the next project, but I have it to where all the levels work. I added a secret level, so figure out how to get to that. I'm very proud of being able to get this all done um in a timely manner. From start to finish, it took a week without a whole lot of pressure. Having a couple of days where I didn't really do anything other than try and overcomplicate a solution. I think coming at it from this kind of vantage point is really good. And it shows me I can accomplish a lot with what I've learned over the last couple of years messing around with Godot. Because I started with Godot 4.1. So whenever that came out, and now we're about to have 4.6. But yeah, so it's been a handful of years that I've now been on and off playing with Godot. And I'll be honest, I didn't think I'd learned a lot, but now I know I have. So I'm very happy. I'm very grateful for all the different tutorials that I've watched that I've been able to extrapolate from. I have a few more ideas that I want to implement in future games based off of what I've learned here. Um so yeah, I'm very proud. I want to go ahead and show off the changes I made since yesterday. This was 22nd. I fixed some audio quirks, found another bug related to the time function for the levels. Um, it doesn't await for the finish signal, and I need to figure out why. So, on regards to that, I'm going to open up level 1, the script for level 1. And what I did was I created a start timer. So there's the deploy timer and the start timer. The deploy timer is kind of in the name. That's when it starts running all the deploying systems. Um, and then there's the start timer. That starts running on load, which is when the countdown goes and the system awaits the countdown signal, which is the 3, 2, 1 go system that I created yesterday. And then it loads all the stuff for the game. It doesn't start the timer until the countdown is already finished. And then down here, I kept the on timer out system that was already in place for running the deployables and stuff. But on the start timer, I get the deploy timer and get it started. Like that's when it first starts running is after the countdown is already finished. And then I run that initial run deploy spawn random deployable at the same time that the timer finishes. And then by the next one um it runs pretty smoothly after that. And for quite a few of these, I just couldn't figure out why it was still not working. It's because over in the inspector, I still had auto start on. It can't be on, or it doesn't listen to this at all, which makes sense. So I had auto start still on. The start timer has to be a one shot and an auto start, otherwise it's just going to keep going and it just breaks everything. Nothing ever goes. So, yeah, be careful with your timers. I did watch a video, I think it was today, about making sure that you take advantage of exports. I had stopped using them for some strange reason in this game. But something I didn't realize is that you can do an export for something like for deployment, and I can reference something in a child node or a scene that has the children open as editable, and then drag that over, and then you can reference it the same way you could if it was a global or a class or whatever. You just, if it has a script, you can reference the script elements, which is great. So that is what allowed me to have the star defense timer, which I haven't been able to strictly check that this works because it doesn't always happen. And I didn't want to keep, here we go. That needs to be 10. That needs to be 1. And this needs to be 30. As you can tell, I was messing around trying to get some of the systems working and I had to change some of the values. I was checking some stuff with coins, but save that. But this should in theory allow the timer to stop, and by having that timer stop, it should run uh the on stars defense timer timeout. It should run this before the next level loads, which allows you to actually use your controls and everything and have them work correctly. I don't know for certain because I haven't been able to test it without messing it up too much. So that's just gonna be something where once it gets released into the world, I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for a bug tracker essentially for it. And that in and of itself is a scary prospect to me, is releasing this out into the world outside of a game jam and being like, hey, come play this. Tell me what you think. But I know I need to get used to doing that because part of why I'm going so hard into game development right now, funny enough, is because I want to promote my books. They have nothing to do with game development. They are a fantasy series. The first one's out. I'm currently working on the second one. But the games I plan on creating are going to tie into the books. Not in a way to where if you don't play the games, you won't understand the books, and vice versa, but to enhance the experience, get people intrigued. So, I actually wrote down an idea this morning that I thought would be an interesting game in and of itself. And while talking with a family member, my mom, while talking with my mom, we realized that it could tie into the books really easily. Um, so I'm really happy I wrote down the idea because otherwise I would have forgotten. It was like 4 in the morning. But I have a lot of game ideas written down that I think would be cool. So yeah. Let's see. Let's look at more commits. I fixed some more audio stuff because originally, if we go into the game root string, I was trying to go into here and mess with audio, and then I realized ain't nothing loaded yet. So I did it in the main menu instead. And it works beautifully. Because it wasn't originally doing, it was doing a thing with the music where it would like blare it and then take it down to the level you'd assigned it. Well, nothing had ever loaded what you'd assigned yet, so none of the save data had been loaded. So I'm able to actually use this. I want to have different music for the intro and then fade into the play level music, but at the moment I'm not putting a lot of priority in the music. There's something that kind of gives you some variety and like gets you into the intensity, but it's, I don't know, for me it's a little monotonous, but it's just monotonous enough to not distract from the game and get you more focused on the music than the rhythm of the game. So I think there's currently a good balance. We'll see once it gets in the hands of more people. I added the secret level and I fixed the deployment. Yeah, that was mostly what I did today, along with like some other stuff outside of game development. I did a lot of non-game development today. It was a long day. Um, but yeah, I think tomorrow I'm going to focus on getting this project ready to go on Itch and start editing these videos. Or this video. There's not too much to go into on the implementation of the scripts today because like I already went over how I fixed the deployment bug, what the secret was, and yesterday we went over the pausing function. I did go into player pause node. I did have to change up how some of the processes were for some of these buttons to always. And then I made sure that they were only referenced in the pause node and never in the player node. Because otherwise, that's what was giving those errors earlier, I think. That or just the fact that I wasn't showing you guys. And so it was like, hey, we'll fix ourselves now. Because, that's how that works. for some reason. Um, so yeah, I'm very happy with everything I've done, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. I hope you had or have a wonderful day and that you get to or got to something delicious. I'll see you guys next time. Bye. Credits. That's what I forgot to do. I forgot to do credits, so you'll get one more update um on how to do credits. And I'm going to get to do a lot cooler stuff cuz I'll be able to implement BB code cuz I've gotten a better understanding of how that works. There you go. One more little thing and then that's it with this game. So tomorrow it's credits and exporting. So I did a little bit more than just the credits, so that is done. This is the background. It's the same as the main image, just darkened up using the modulate, not self-modulate, but actual modulate. Though I'm sure I probably could have done it with self-modulate once I figured out how to modulate it correctly. Um, and by correctly, I mean you leave it in the center of the colors and then just change the light and darkness, and leave everything else alone. Uh, I'll go into how to do the credits here in a minute, but I did change the name of the game to Dragon's Keep, because I figured that worked well with the theming of everything I plan on doing going forward with games is to have them somewhat tie into the workings of my books. So I figured this could easily work with that. Um I did this art piece in Krita. It's not my best work, but I like it for its simplicity. Like it didn't take me long to make and I used some versions of how to draw dragons from when I was a lot younger, like more than a decade ago. God, that's weird to say. Anyway, um, but I used some skills that I had picked up from back then on some simple ways to try and draw dragons. Um, and I kept with the same theming of the type of dragon, where there's no wings and stuff. So it's almost like it's a snake, but it's got like a head of a dragon. Um, since that's what I did for the green one that protects you, I figured the red one that is attacking you would do well with that. And this is how I kind of signal that you are being attacked by the red one, is that that's the one you see. We'll see how it goes. I'm open to feedback on that. And then the credits, I will show you what that looks like. And then I will explain how it works. So it pulls it up, it drags it from the bottom all the way up, and then you can press escape to get out of it. I need to assign where escape sends you because right now it just exits out of that and we don't want that. It needs to go back to the previous scene, but it does technically work. So I'll show you how that works. Um, so for this, you need to have it on a essentially some kind of node that's going to hold the script. I believe it could be just a normal node, um, as well as 3D or 2D. Um, I have it on a 2D node, and that's where you house your script. You need some kind of background typically. So I use the texture act, and then you need to have where you're gonna house the actual credits. And that's what line is. And as you can see, it starts off down here. Um, I made the label actually quite big because you need it to be big because otherwise it just stops. I don't know why, but it doesn't. This is kind of what you have to do in order for it to work correctly, and then it works beautifully. So I figured don't if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And then I added an extra label outside of the credit control to just signal that, hey, if you want to leave this, press escape. Because that's what it's set to, is UI cancel or whatever. You can change that to whatever button you want. I just left it as is, but we'll go to the top of the credits. It extends Node 2D. You have these constants that you can change. That's section time, line time, base speed, and speed up multiplier. So section time is how long each section's going to be there. Line time is how long each line is going to be there. Section time is how long each section's going to be there. Line time is how long each line is going to be there. Base speed is how fast the whole thing's going to go. And then speed multiplier is for when you use the buttons to scroll faster, how long does that take? How much does it multiply the base speed? So in our case, it would go, I believe, 500 speed once you actually multiply it. I think math, not my strong suit. I'm getting better, but it's not my strong suit. And then we have these two export variables, which allow you to change up what the title looks like and the general font. So I can go in here and change the title line to whatever I want, color wise, and then the font to whatever I want. And then the rest of it will can be implemented separately. It can be done in code or it can be done using a theme. I used a theme, but you can override it within code as well. And then we have this variable of speed up. It is automatically set to false. I can change this to these are floats. Sorry. Okay. Sorry, that was going to bother me because the system runs faster if you actually assign these versus doing an automatic assign. So I went ahead and assigned those to what they're supposed to be. This is a label, and this is a control, and then this is a pull. The reason I'm changing it now and I didn't do it earlier is I wasn't thinking about it, and the reason it wasn't already like this is because I found this on Reddit via I'll link it down below if I can find it, but there was a specific person I found. He said you don't have to credit him. I would like to credit the person. But technically you don't have to credit him. He was just happy to have found a fix for a thing that people were looking for. But I'll do my best to find it and credit it in the description below. But I found it on Reddit and it works beautifully. So then we have the thing to assign the line and the control node that you're using. So the thing that's housing the line and the line itself. Because as you can see in here, nothing is written into the label. So it has to assign it to the line or the label, and then it has to know where to find it. Pretty sure that's how these two lines work. And then you've got your started and finished. This one works, the started. The finished, I need to look at the end of the code and see why it doesn't automatically run. Or if it does, I need to assign it to where it's going, because right now it doesn't go anywhere, as we saw with when we hit escape. So then we go to section next, section timer. Whoops. Section timer, line timer, current line, and then lines. And then we have our variable of credits. And this is a array. Yeah, that's an array. Current line is an int. That is a float. Is a float. That is a bool. Nope, that's an int. No, what are you? So this takes section timer and section time. Section time, section timer. So this needs to be a float. Yeah, okay. I must have just spelled it wrong. But now everything will assign correctly because we have it assigned correctly. Without Godot having to do extra work. And then in order to do your spaces between things, you need to have this, and then your sections are defined by your arrays, or your lines are assigned by the array, and then in between you do these. It knows that the first one, for some reason, it knows that is the one to mess with. I'm sure it's done in the lower code. This isn't, I'm sure, the cleanest way to do credits because things can get misspelled easily and everything, but it works. And that's all I care about, is that it works. So then in the process function, so this is when we're really getting into code. All the things up until this point we're assigning variables. So now we're actually in the functions. And so we have the process function using delta. We define scroll speed is base speed times delta. We assign base speed as 50 up here. And we never defined the scroll speed until this point. So that's why we're able to assign it now. So then if section next, section timer delta times speed up multiplier, if speed up, else delta. So this section here is saying, or this here is looking for if we clicked the key to speed up or not, or if we're holding the key to speed up. Otherwise, it's just delta. We defined what speed multiplier was earlier. That's at 10. And then section timer is currently a float of 0. So then it takes delta times the speed multiplier, and that's all it's doing, and it's, I believe, assigning it. And then we got if section time. Yeah, I'm realizing I don't fully understand how this works. I just know it works. So section timer is the float we assigned up here. It's section time, section timer. It's down here. It's a float equal to 0. Let's look a little closer at some of the other stuff. Let's finish. We don't want to do free just. Want to transition dot transition await transition scene dot finished on transition finished, and then scene switcher dot load level. And right now we have it to where the only way to get to credits is through the main scene. So then we can go to UI, main menu, grab the UID, and paste it in there. There we go. Okay. And then we will copy this. Oh, I see. No, it just, we go to finish. Okay. Okay. So we fixed the finish function. Yeah, it's this process section that's got me confused. Because add line takes a variable of new line, it takes line and duplicates it. And then you take new line, which is the duplicate, and you add text, section pop front. Pop front is, why won't you? I believe that automatically puts it in front, and then we append the new line. Append pushes it to the very back. Current line is equal to 0. This was the original line, and then I think I fixed it here, but I kept it because that's what I do. I keep old code and new code next to each other so that way I have reference points. Because this was originally made for like 4.2 or something, but it still works in 4.5. So there you go. But I had to change this instead of add color override. It was just set theme override colors / font color to title color. Okay, I see. If the current line is equal to 0, you do this. Otherwise, roll credits. This is how you do the title. I would love to have done it with BB code, but that involves a whole bunch of stuff. Or to create a really cool font thing to put in the front. Maybe I'll do that at a later time because right now it works. And that's what matters. And then if it is greater than 0, add current line, section next is false, otherwise section next is true. So that just means it continues through. And then we looked at how the unhandled input works. It's all about using the escape key, the up key, and the down key, or just the down key to go faster. And then if it's release, it goes back to normal speed. So going back to the process, this ensures that the credits have started. It starts popping everything to the front, adding lines. Else line timer is plus equals delta times speed up multiplier of speed up. Else delta, which is similar to what we had up here. And then we're messing with the greater than or greater than equal to line timer, the line time, and then we negotiate down the timer by the line time by one interval of it. And then if speed up, scroll speed is speed up multiplier. If line size is greater than 0, for L in lines, L dot position dot Y is minus scroll speed. If L is position dot Y is smaller than negative L dot get line height, lines erase, L dot Q free. I believe this right here is where we get that issue of if the label is not big enough, it doesn't work because it just cuts it off immediately. Because even though at line it is appearing at this top section here, if there's not all this room here, it just shuts off for some reason. But as you can see, this box is like almost the entire height of this. So, but if you were to have this at the top, it would just sit there at the top going. It would never read the whole screen. And then ELSIF started finish, and then we went through the rest of this code. That is my understanding of how these credits work. Again, found it on Reddit. It worked. And I haven't looked back since. What I should do is have in here under the tools used is add in the person who made it. But they had said that they didn't mind not being credited, so I think I just took it for that when I first did a project. Is I've been copying pasting this script over since the first project I used it on a few years ago. So but yeah, that's where we're at. All the things I did were in the credits, so it just hadn't fixed credits. It changes. And that is everything I kind of wanted to show off, to be honest. Yeah. Thank you so much. See you next time.